You there! Start the countdown.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Wait a minute. You started it wrong.
I started it wrong.
You didn't start it the right way.
Well, how come?
I get someone else. You there!
Yeah, I'm right here.
Need something from you.
Okay.
Need you to start countdown.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You lose. Starto.
I pushed the wrong button. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Senseis with yours truly, Brian Snow, and Sensei Drew. Sensei Drew will be a few minutes, so I don't know how to open this one because usually he's here and we get right into it. So let's get right into it. Hold on, I'm reading a message from him. Nah, we'll start it this way. Anybody like baseball? I certainly do. Anybody like basketball? Hockey? Hockey? Someone say hockey? Yeah. Well, I touched on it this morning on the morning show and it brought me to tears. But last night was the final game in a Blackhawks uniform of Captain Sirius, the one we call Jonathan Taves. Captain, we've enjoyed you. We love you. We're going to miss you. You made hockey fun for us in Chicago. You made it worth it. You made it worth everything for us to either watch on television, watch with friends, or watch with 20,000 of our friends at the United Center. And when those 20,000 people at the United Center came together and saw you and Patrick King and Patrick Kang and Kane, oh gosh, and Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Corey Crawford, you know, the ones that brought us 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years. We're going to miss all of that. It's going to be hard to see you either not on the ice at all or in a different sweater. Because for 17 years, that bunch that I just named was the heart of Chicago Blackhawks hockey. They made it fun again. Earlier this morning, I mentioned some names such as Dennis Savard, Doug Wilson, Victor's favorite goalie, Eddie the Eagle Belfour, Jeremy Roenick. We miss those guys. But the closest they got to a Stanley Cup was 1992 against Super Mario and Jaromir Jagr and the machine we like to call the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's going to be tough not seeing number 19, number 88, number 2, Duncan Keith, 7, Brent Seabrook, 81, Marian Hossa. Will be quite strange it's strange enough to see Patrick Kane in a Broadway blue shirt, but the deal had to be done. And if there was a team that deserved him, it's the New York Rangers. I'm still going to watch Patrick Kane do his thing. It's just tough seeing him not do it in a Blackhawks uniform. And last night, after a 5-4 loss to Philadelphia, which officially signaled the end of an era and officially signaled the beginning of the rebuild. And believe me, we will rebuild and we will reload because I believe we got the right people in place now. What was it like when your favorite star played in your team's uniform for the last time? What was it like when your favorite star said goodbye and didn't don the sweater or the jersey or the helmet again? I can think of so many. So many. Sensei Drew, my friend.
Snowman, what did I miss since you impatiently can't wait to start the show without me?
I'm paying tribute to Jonathan Taves.
Well, tribute to that. Now, what are we going to talk about on this show, episode 17?
Episode 17 will begin with the NBA playoffs. And my question to you, Sensei Drew, what's the most intriguing series you're looking at?
No, you don't want to hear it, Snowman, but the actual Grizzlies and the Lakers are the series that I'm looking at because we got to see how serious.
Why'd you say the actual Grizzlies?
Yeah, because it just felt like something they would roll off the tip of the tongue. They would feel pretty good with that one. But but when it comes to LeBron, we've given him so much hatred over this season, and he has elevated this team to making the playoffs. As of course, teams ranked 7 through 10 in each league have a chance to do the play-in tournament to get in. Okay, so it's a little bit different of years past as we've seen that recently. But the fact that he did it and that we could potentially see a 7-game series in the first round with the Grizzlies, who knows? Who knows if LeBron can actually do this at age 38, but it's looking pretty good for the Lakers right now.
I jokingly have a 2-word response for you.
Uh-oh.
I haven't made you laugh all day, but I will now. For that opinion, I say jokingly unto you,
You're fired.
It's getting too wild out here in these streets, Snowman. It's getting too wild.
This ain't wild enough.
It's
not wild. It's only April. Wait till July gets here.
I know. Baseball season will be in mid-swing at that point. So we'll have some good things to talk about there in July. But,
the series I'm paying attention to is in Northern California, Kings and Warriors, because you have the Kings who have come out of nowhere to win the Pacific Division going away, and their coach was plucked from the Warriors staff. Of course, I'm talking about Mike Brown. De'Aaron Fox is no one to be messed with.
Sure.
Harrison Barnes has had a renaissance. That whole team, not only can they put the ball in the basket, they were the number 1 scoring team in the league, but they also play some defense too.
True. Yeah, your Warriors are definitely looking pretty good here to start this campaign out for this season, but for the season playoffs. But another team of yours still has a shot at 7:00 tonight as they play the Miami Heat tonight.
That's my
Chicago Bulls have a chance to make a run this year. Will they beat the Heat tonight, Snowman? Will they get this thing done?
I say yes, because they should have been blown out of the water Tuesday night. They should have been blown out of the water in Toronto, down by 19 with 9 minutes left in the third quarter. And part of that is Toronto's fault because Toronto couldn't make a free throw. They wound up, if my memory serves me correct, 18 for 36 from the free throw line. Meanwhile, the Bulls were 20 of 24 from the free throw line. There's your difference. There's your difference. They made free throws. They got defensive stops. And that's why the Bulls have another game and Toronto's sitting at home wondering what happened. And they had the home court advantage. It was in the Air Canada, in the Scotiabank Center.
Now, my question is this, Snowman. How do the Hawks beat the Heat? And never mind. So there's one final. I was looking at this play-in tournament, the bracket, because I didn't check the game out on Tuesday.
Right.
I was wondering, how do the Hawks beat the Heat, but yet the Heat still get to play the Bulls? Makes no sense. But I now see it.
It makes no sense. Well, if you're not the 10th, if you're not the 9 or the 10 seed, you're guaranteed 2 games.
Okay.
If you are the 9, if you're the 9 or the 10 seed, unless you win at that seed, 7 and 8 are guaranteed 2 games and 2 shots to get in. Okay, that's how I understand it.
Okay, that was the part that was unclear to me. That's why I wasn't too
Right.
sure how that worked out.
Right. You get it's like the Warriors in 2021 when they got in as the number 7 seed at 39 and 33. They got 2 shots. They lost to the Lakers and they lost to Memphis. But the Bulls became the first 10 seed, Oklahoma City now being the other, to advance in the play-in tournament. This is going to be a tough call for the Bulls, but I think they can get it done.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this happens, man, because, the Bulls beating the Raptors by 4, the Heat is definitely going to be another matchup that's going to be interesting because the Hawks are a very good team, and the Hawks beat them by 11. And, with the Bulls barely beating the Raptors by 4, I feel like this is a pretty even matchup to where it's going to be coming down close to the buzzer to decide who advances past this game. But I will say the Bulls 94-92.
I say Bulls 108, Heat 102. It'll be I really believe this will be a 100-point game just because of the pace of the NBA. Just because of the new pace of the NBA. Fit Down Sports is with us from Connecticut. He says, thanks to both Sensei and Drew for coming on Fit Down last night. It was like the bread to a tasty sandwich. Good looks, gentlemen. Hail to the Senseis.
Did you go on there while Rob was on there?
I was on there for about 30 seconds.
While Rob was on there?
While Rob was on there, and then my body crashed.
Yeah,
my body crashed.
I was watching it. I and I was like, I'm gonna wait till he leaves. Yeah, like I didn't even see you on there.
Wait a minute. When he popped up, that's when my spider senses went off.
Yeah, I just don't want to do, like, it's just mind numbing, like to watch it. Like this is our show, so we can say whatever we want. But
yes,
when it came to getting on there, I was like, all right, I jumped on there with Dietz. I was on there with Dietz for like 45 minutes.
Yep.
Towards the end of his show, and we talked a lot of good stuff, from football, basketball, to wrestling, all sorts of stuff.
It's fun. It's fun with Dietz.
Yeah, had a great time, but it's just you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them,
Walk
away.
And when he popped up, I refuse to say his name, but when he popped up, I walked away. I crashed. I'll
say his name. Was it Rod East, Rod West, Rod Isaac? Pick a name, brother. Let's find out who you really are and be a real person, because you are not real out here in these streets. You're the one with 17 names, not me, bro.
Look, I have a total of 3. My official name, my on-air name, and the nickname my wife gave me around the house, which, of course, is Tall Man. For those of you who see the Cash App, that's what she calls me. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good, too. I'm good with a nickname and my real name. Like, I'm good.
We had a fabulous time with Chris Dietz last night on Fit Down Sports Show, and bowing to Chris Dietz and thank you to Dietz for having us on last night. Back to the NBA playoffs. Do we see a collision course for the Bucks and the Celtics to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, or is there a chink in the armor as we get started on the real playoffs, which start tomorrow?
Both of these teams have been very well hyped up for the past couple of years between the Celtics and the Bucks. The Bucks recently winning a championship not too long ago, with Giannis.
Right.
And Celtics not too far off as well as far as the caliber of being able to do that. They've got some hurdles in their way. There are some good teams in the playoffs, especially for the east side of the NBA.
Right.
The fact that we have the Knicks and the Cavaliers in the playoffs, at the same
Can you
time.
believe that?
And at the same time,
At the same time.
yeah,
At the
like
same time.
there's so many teams in this playoffs this year. I mean, even the Clippers, even Russell Westbrook made it to the playoffs for the West side. There's a lot of stories within this NBA playoffs. Now, some are going to be short-lived, some aren't going to last as long. But will I be surprised to see the Bucks and Celtics not face each other in the championship series leading up to the NBA? No, I will not be surprised to see them not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. One of those two teams will make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah,
but I won't be surprised if they don't face each other in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, one of those two will get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It just depends on the draw and how the series play out. That's our look in the East. Our look in the West. Can anybody stop the Denver Nuggets? Are they? I've been wanting to say this, and I know Cool McCain's going to get mad at me and bark at me for this, but I will go ahead and say it. Are they a legitimate number one seed?
I'm still disappointed with the Nuggets for letting go of my guy Bones Highland out of VCU because he was drafted to them. Then they ship him to the freaking Clippers, and that's why the Clippers are in the playoffs doing what they're doing is because of no, it's not just because of Bones Highlands, but that's what I'm going to say. That's going to be my argument with that one. But when it comes to the teams that are in the playoffs and are making a run, Denver Nuggets right there, especially for the East, for the West, are going to be making some great strides in this playoffs. But there's been so much hype on Denver over the past 3 to 5 seasons, Snowman.
Right.
And what have they really done? What have they really accomplished
in
that time frame? Now, they've accomplished more than what they did when Carmelo Anthony was on the team. Give you that.
Yeah, they did.
It's tough to say that because everybody loves Carmelo, and they wanted Melo to get a championship at some point. Doesn't look like
for some reason they loved Carmelo. I don't know why. I don't.
And then he went to New York, and then we know about what happened.
We know the end of that story.
Yeah. So and now both of his former teams. Actually, all of his former teams, I think, are in the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
all of them are in. Except for the Rockets.
Except for the Rockets.
Yeah, but you got
the Rockets. The Rockets tanked, and they let Steven Silas go, which I think is wrong. But it brings a conspiracy theory to me that they're going to bring back Mike D'Antoni.
I have heard you say that. Wouldn't that be the third time he would be with that team if he comes back?
Third time.
How often does that happen to where you get fired twice and then rehired a third time?
Mm-hmm.
Not often. I cannot remember anybody ever getting fired twice from the same position and then rehired for a third time. Third time will not be the charm for D'Antoni. It didn't work out the first 2 times. You got to be crazy if you think it's going to work out for a third time or work out on the third time.
Yeah, but you can read the tea leaves from here that Steven Silas was a dead man walking when he signed the contract in Houston because they would not allow him to implement everything that he wanted to do. And most of what he wanted to do, thanks to his dad, Paul Silas, was preach defense.
Snowman, I feel like somebody's smoking these tea leaves if they want to bring back Mike D'Antoni.
They're smoking a lot more than tea leaves if they want to bring back Mike D'Antoni. They're smoking a lot more than that.
They've got to get it together over here in Houston. With the failed transitions between you had Russell Westbrook when he was still within his prime. It messed that up. You had the beard. You had James Harden at the prime of his career, at the best that he was in his career, and you still couldn't do anything with it. You had Yao Ming at one point. Like the tallest Chinaman ever and one of the tallest basketball players of all time. To be able to do what you had all of this talent. Tracy McGrady. The list goes on. Hakeem Olajuwon. But yeah, you did win 2 championships. But still.
They won 2 with Olajuwon.
Yeah, but still, from that point forward, it's been almost 30 years since that happened. And what have you really done from that moment?
Not a doggone thing.
Yeah.
Not a doggone thing. Odette shed some light for us. 7 and 8 seeds are double elimination. 9 and 10 are one and done. And I think that's what that's a question that you posed earlier. How the Heat get a second game. 7 and 8 are double elimination. In that. Victor Locke joins us from Chicago. You had James Harden, the in real life version.
Vic crushed it with that one. Stay puffed, Marshmallow Man.
There's a mic drop for you right there. Never thought we'd work Ghostbusters, but when we're talking about James Harden, you got to include the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Take a short break for those of you listening on WQEE 99.1 FM. We'll pause, and when we come back, you don't know what we're going to talk about next, but it is Friday. It is the Sports Senseis, and I will tell you, we're going to dive into the XFL. Their season's coming to an end, and the USFL is beginning. All that when y'all get back.
Home of Southern Sports and Talk. WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of the Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of the Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
That's right, folks. It's the master of the in or out sports debate, my brother Drew, and you can catch that each week. And I'm hoping to get back in the vault and get back on the in or out sports debate. Of course, that's going to depend on schedule, but you can catch it each week on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. And he also ventured into doing play-by-play and color commentary.
Yeah,
very, very recently. What was that? What was that like? Tell us, what was that like, man?
I mean, except for being like 30-some degrees outside that day, you know, baseball and everything, and not preparing the greatest for that. It was great. Darrell and I are actually discussing about potentially doing another game in May. We were trying to do one again in April, but just like you said, scheduling just didn't work out. I mean, scheduling's kind of all over the place with myself between all the shows, baseball, and my work schedule. And then you got other people to work in there as well. And, you know, we got episode 91 this Sunday of the In-Or-Out Sports Debate, but we still have time. We'll still have plenty of weeks to get Snowman back in there before hitting 100 episodes. So that way he can be a 4-time Vault of Fame inductee within that 100 episodes.
All right. To the XFL we go, and those damn DC Defenders. There is a possibility, and I'm hooked on the Defenders. All right, let me be real. I'm hooked on the Defenders. But there's a possibility of a full house this weekend when they clinch the North Division, and a win gets them just that. explain to me the turnaround of the Defenders from 2020 to this year. What's been the biggest thing for them?
We don't have Cardale Jones. He was the quarterback of 2020 and wasn't making the greatest decisions with the ball. I mean, that's probably the biggest difference offensively, in my opinion. Plus the coaching staff. You got Greg Williams, which even though he's more historically known for Bountygate, he's played things pretty clean here in the XFL, and the defense has been playing great for Greg Williams and for this team. I think the funny thing is we not only have 2 weeks left in the season, we're on week 9, right?
Yes.
There's 10 weeks in the season, and it's taking until week 9 with only 1 loss to clinch the division. That goes to show you how close this division is and how close the competition is within this league, except for maybe the Brahmas. Like they're the one team we could take out of the equation, but everybody else is pretty close.
Orlando Guardians out of the equation also.
Them too. I was trying to give them a little bit of love for the fact that they did give DC that 1 loss, and I gave Kyle Nash so much last week when he was on the In-N-Out Sports Debate for 89. I gave Kyle Nash so much because I was like, Kyle Nash, you were in attendance, and that gave bad juju to my team. And I even told him.
You said that last week here. You said that last week here.
Yeah, I should have taken that clip out and put it on that show with him on there. I just didn't have enough time, but I told him. I still told him in person. I said, you are the reason why they got the loss. And Kyle Nash just sitting there like this. You know that he knew that I knew that he knew what he was doing.
Well, he had a 2-foot grin on his face.
He did.
Why are you surprised?
He did. He did in a chalice full of Guinness.
He had a 2-foot Cheshire Cat grin on his face. This is Kyle Nash we're talking about, okay?
My boy Kyle Nash, love that guy. But yeah, he actually came through the clutch.
Yeah.
With that episode, because Karita Parks was supposed to be there and accidentally double booked herself, and he came through the clutch, and with a 2-day notice, he was there, and we were able to still do 89. So I love Kyle Nash.
I love it. I'm hooked. I am hooked on that show. If you haven't had a chance to check out the In-N-Out Sports Debate, please do. It's always a fun time. How big is this game for DC with a chance to wrap up the division and a home field and a home game for the North Division title before eventually going to San Antonio to play for the XFL championship?
Coming off of back-to-back weeks where you're winning or the game's decided by only 1 point. Because the week before you lost to the Guardians 37-36.
37-36. And then you beat Seattle. Then you on beat a missed Seattle 2-point conversion, 34-33.
So it goes to show you how much the 1, 2, and 3-point conversions are really impacting these games in the XFL, because just that one conversion miss made the difference of the entire game. And, you know, we almost saw the Defenders lose back-to-back games, and then we would have maybe a week 10 clinch if that were the case. But it's good that the Defenders got the victory, get a chance to close the deal out in week 9, take it easy in week 10, and be ready to go for the playoffs, because I've said it since week 1 because of the way that they played in week 1. And some people thought that I was going a little too soon, you being one of them, when we were doing this show when the XFL season had started. We already had this show running. And I was saying at the beginning, then I said the DC Defenders are going to be the team to beat. And they still look like the team to beat. They're getting a little bit tired and a little bit loose-ended on certain things, but I feel like they are still the team to beat. You just watch. Mark my words, Snowman. They will be in the championship game. Will they win or lose? We'll get to that later.
I posed the question this morning to Sam Shady, and I want to pose it to you because you and I and Sam, we've all like really kept in tune with the XFL. Can they sell out the Alamo Dome?
That's going to be tough.
Championship game.
That's going to be tough. If you let the DC Defender fans bring the beer snake in, got a shot.
You know, there's 60,000 plus there's 60,000 plus seats in the Alamo Dome. That'll be one hell of a beer snake, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. But if they can pull this off and fill the Alamo Dome to 60,000, it'll be a great footnote for next season.
It'll be a fantastic footnote. Who comes from the South Division to play them? Will they get another shot at Houston, or will someone else come to play them?
I think Houston will have another chance. Based on what we've seen out of Houston this year, we haven't seen the Houston Roughnecks of old. They definitely do not look like the previous rendition. It looks like maybe the Roughnecks traded teams with the DC Defenders for the type of quality of what we got in the 2020 season. But in the 2020 season, we didn't even get a whole season. Then we've gotten more games out of this season than we did out of that season.
We did.
And the most since the first rendition in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to see us get through 8 games and not have the threat of them being yanked off of TV or anything like that because of ratings. Now, the ratings have suffered in certain moments like March Madness, Daytona 500, and so on. But within the past week or two, they've started to pick up momentum because we are getting close to playoff football. People are getting the itch for football because you have the NFL draft coming up. We have all this stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers and the hype still, and you still have XFL giving you football on the weekends. If you love football, it's a great time to be a football fan.
Well, Houston has clinched a South Division title game berth. The Defenders have clinched a playoff berth. They just await their opponent. Speaking of opponents, it's coming down to them and St. Louis, and they've swept St. Louis in the during the regular season. So they will more than likely get a third shot. If St. Louis takes care of business the next 2 weeks, they will get a third shot at St. Louis, and it'll be in the nation's capital. So how huge will that be to have that home field advantage for DC? I was about to say Washington. For DC.
It will be huge. However, I have a bad feeling if we face St. Louis again.
Really?
Because of what we've seen from this team throughout the season between the connection from AJ McCarron to Austin Prohl and the other the other players in that team, especially their defense. Their defense looks pretty solid too. I just have a feeling that with the way that the first 2 games went down, AJ McCarron, who's a very smart player, very smart quarterback, was a great backup as well in the NFL, even coming from a great collegiate career. I feel like he's learned enough from playing this DC Defenders team 2 times that he's going to find a way to beat this team if they play each other in the playoffs. And that is the one matchup that I'm afraid of leading up to the championship game that could potentially derail this season for the DC Defenders.
Well, why do you think the TV ratings, you brought this up before, and I want you to expand on it. Why do you think the TV ratings went down for about, I'd say, a 2 or 3 week period? I know the main answer is March Madness.
Yeah.
What do you think also has curtailed them?
March Madness being the biggest one, like you said, but Daytona 500 has been big too. They took it for the 1 week, but still, like, NASCAR fans are kind of spotty. They get hardcore about racing for the first 1 to 2 months, and then they kind of die down for the next few months, going through summer and everything. And then they'll ramp back up towards the end of summer when it gets to championship time. Okay. So the first month or so is going to be a split between basketball and racing. Okay. Because baseball, you got your hardcore fans like yourself or myself that'll check out some games here and then so we can stay up to date with it. But even people don't really get hardcore into baseball until around All-Star break. So
and it's a sprint from there to the end of the season, watching their teams if they have a chance to clinch a playoff berth, or if they're tanking for the rest of the season. It's just it's like you said, it's the All-Star break is where basically all the fun starts.
Absolutely. And that's why between that and all that I said, I feel like, of course, the biggest definitive answer is going to be March Madness because, we're just now in April, and the biggest reason why we've seen our ratings dip for the XFL the past few weeks has been because of March Madness. And now will be the test of time to see, will it be more viewership going to NBA playoffs, which is usually the factor in past history, or we see a little bit of a gap between now that we've got XFL back, because once USFL gets back here, I don't think they're going to have as good a ratings as the XFL did.
I don't think so either. And speaking of which, let's go to the USFL. They kick off tomorrow with a 4:30 game in Memphis, Tennessee, with the Philadelphia Stars and the return of the Memphis Showboats. Of course, the Memphis Showboats in the 80s gave us the late, great Reggie White.
Mm-hmm.
The Stars coming off of a championship game appearance where they lost to the Birmingham Stallions. You know, how confident can Philadelphia be going into this matchup with the Showboats, formerly the Tampa Bay Bandits, Tampa Bay Rowdies? What does Philadelphia do? What can Philadelphia do to get off to a better start this year than they did last year?
Don't do what you did last year, Philadelphia. Just do the opposite. 2 words. Do better. That's all you can do in this moment.
Yeah.
Don't do worse. Do better. That's all you can do. Now, USFL, in my opinion, is like the minor leagues of football because you got the XFL. Some people, even Joey Raymond, the Internet Sports Bay, will say, hey, the XFL could be a minor league system for the NFL. No, I disagree. XFL is like AEW to NFL's WWE. Okay.
And
so why would you want to have that when you could have your Ohio Valley Wrestling be USFL?
Can the XFL stand on its own and not be a feeder system for the NFL? Do you think the XFL can stand on its own?
When you have it ran by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, anything is possible, Snowman. Anything. Anything is possible.
All right, second game, 7:30, also on Fox. Both games tomorrow on Fox and on the Fox Sports app. The New Jersey Generals, who were eliminated by the Stars to get to the championship, they take on the defending USFL champion Birmingham Stallions. That's at Protective Stadium in Birmingham, Alabama. Everybody in Alabama is going to come out to see this game and cheer on the defending champions. Of course, most valuable player Scooby Wright returns for them. Why hasn't Scooby Wright gotten another opportunity to play in the NFL?
With a name as cool as that, you should be getting opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
True.
Because that is a sweet name. Now, when you look at this into perspective, there may be some type of off the field issue that isn't coming to light that we aren't aware of, which in time we'll probably find that out. But as of right now, I don't see where the fine line is. It doesn't make any sense to me because, again, somebody with that name should be getting these opportunities.
Sunday's game starts at noon over on NBC and Peacock, and I'll be taking a look at this one. It's the Michigan Panthers and the Houston Gamblers. They'll play in Memphis, Tennessee. And the second game at 6:30, Pittsburgh Maulers and the New Orleans Breakers. And I love the way they scheduled this. They scheduled these two games around what's coming to be the tail end of the USFL season. Talk to me about that.
It's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out because this rendition of the USFL, they're hyping it up to be a little bit more special than the ones of the past. But I honestly, Snowman, I've been getting so hyped up into XFL. I haven't paid too much attention to the USFL yet. And once we get games ramped up this season, next week, I'll be able to give you a little bit more when we're back on next Friday. But I can't give you that much right now just because I don't really pay too much attention to it until we actually start seeing the production.
And you're the same way I am. I'm just looking at the matchups. You know, I long for the days of Bobby Hebert and Jim Kelly, Michigan and Houston. And I just miss those days. And you're right. We're not going to know enough about the XFL until we start getting some games in, and the first games come this weekend. Let's pause for another break. And when we come back, we're going to talk some baseball. Do the Atlanta Braves have another division championship run in them? Do they have a World Series run within them? Drew and I will break it down after this.
WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. Home of Southern Sports and Talk. Noonan, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
Moving is a big decision. Selling or buying a home in any market, but especially today's, can raise a lot of questions. Hi, I'm Amy with Killingsworth Realty. My husband Todd and I serve the Coweta and local area. Our purpose at our first meeting is to learn your goals, answer questions, and provide resources so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Find us online at killingsworthrealty.com or call 678-525-0047 to schedule a free consultation today to discuss your real estate needs. You don't have to do this alone.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, you may qualify for a free continuous glucose monitor system. Managing your diabetes is crucial to your health. The new CGM systems can automatically manage your diabetes better for you. And by using a CGM system, you can eliminate forever one thing most people with diabetes hate the most: finger sticks. Now it's possible to manage your diabetes better, end the painful finger sticks, and get a new CGM monitoring system at little or no cost to you. We even provide in-home delivery and do all the insurance paperwork for you. Now is the best time to manage your diabetes better and get your continuous glucose monitor. Call now for details. 800-897-0014. 800-897-0014. 800-897-0014. That's 800-897-0014. Paid for by U.S. Med.
We're back here on the Sports Senseis on episode 17. Myself and Drew are here with you. How bad will the Mets lose to the Braves in the division? I'm just going to dive right in because it's a 2-game spread right now. The Mets, I go back to last year, and we talked about this. The Mets led this division by double digits over Atlanta, and they choked. All right, let's just say it real, the way it needs to be said. They choked. Now the Mets lose Edwin Diaz during the World Baseball Classic. Atlanta's at full strength, or kind of at full strength, and from what I've seen so far, and I've had a chance to catch a few Braves games, Drew, your Braves look poised to just pick up and run away with this division.
It definitely looks good in their favor at this point. I mean, not just the Mets, but the Phillies have been hit by the injury bug too. Phillies probably been hit a little bit harder. Edwin Diaz is a big momentum shifter for the Mets. Yeah. And with him being out since the WBC is definitely made a big impact on this team. But the Mets are still only 2 games out of it at this point. He's saying that there's a chance that he can come back late season. And if they are in the mix of things at that point, it'll definitely make a difference if that is the case.
Would you take that chance?
At him with this stage in his career, it really depends. It really depends on the situation that the Mets are in. You've got Verlander and you got Scherzer. Verlander up there, 40 years old, definitely ain't gonna be around much longer.
No.
He may be able to give you a good 2 to 3 years at the way that he's pitching, because he's still doing pretty good. And just recently got a championship with Houston. Now has 2 World Series rings with Houston. So his career is set. But if you're at August and you got a chance to bring Diaz back, he's healthy enough to give you something, and this team is in wild card status at that point in August, I feel like you got to bring him back to be able to make a run, because if you don't do something with the type of talent that you brought in during this offseason, you're going to lose 1 to 2 stars during this offseason potentially, because of how much hype that was on this 2023 season. And you can't just have one person go down and cost you everything. That's why they're only 2 games out there right now.
Meanwhile, for Atlanta, and I'll say it again, they just seem poised to pick up and run away with the division. What's fueled their hot start so far?
I think the epic decline of last year and getting embarrassed in the round that they did against the Phillies last year. The Phillies being the lower end of the wild card teams and upsetting them, getting further along and making it to the World Series where the Braves were at the year before and won. So I think the biggest motivational factor is the fact that they actually did win it recently, and they have a lot of that squad still a part of the team that they are capable of going on another run again. But they have to stay consistent. Consistency is key. They got the pitching to do it. They got one of the best pitching staffs in the league, and they got one of the greatest offensive in the league. It's the defense that's mediocre at times that you'll have great play out of them, and you'll have other games where you'll just be like, this is not the same team I just watched yesterday. So consistency is key. If they can stay consistent throughout the season, we can see them make a run this offseason. I mean, this postseason.
Speaking of consistency, look at the Tampa Bay Rays, 13-0 to start the season, equaling the 87 Brewers and the 82 Atlanta Braves. and they go to the Sky Dome to take on the Toronto Blue Jays this evening. I got to ask him. This is the first of 3 that they have on the road in Toronto. What's gotten into the Rays? Was it them not making the playoffs last year that's gotten them started? That's gotten them going?
It could be that. It could be the fact of them wearing the Devil Ray uniforms for that one game or whatnot. They announced they were going to be wearing the Devil Ray games. Now, with them being 13-0, Snowman, that is not the longest consecutive game winning streak, as the 1916 New York Giants had the longest winning streak of 26 consecutive winning games without a loss. Okay, so going 162-0 is really hard. Like, it's never been done before. It's never going to be done.
It's never going to get done.
That's why they play 162 games. So there's enough games played to determine a legitimate winner of each division, wild cards, and set up the playoff format respectively. Because there's no way. There's not many teams in the past. There are teams that have gotten 100 wins, but even that is significantly hard to get 100 wins out of 162 games.
Yeah.
You want to sit up here and say they have a chance to go undefeated.
I'm not saying a thing. I'm just asking what's contributed to their hot start.
Is it someone with the last name North, East, West, or South that's saying it?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know if that would come out of his mouth either.
No. I'm just wondering. I just want an opinion from you of what's gotten them off to their hot start.
I think the announcement of wearing those Devil Ray uniforms, those you look sweet back in the day too. But so many snowflakes were getting upset at the word devil that they had to take that out of there and just go to the Rays. So I liked the Devil Ray uniforms back when McGriff and Boggs were on the team when they first started the franchise back in '98. I liked those uniforms. And
I like those too.
And I think the announcement of wearing those uniforms has hyped this team up to where they'll go 13-0 right now. But enjoy it while it lasts, because they will not get 162 straight victories this year.
One of the players to watch on this Rays team, Randy Arozarena, he has been absolutely sensational since he's come into the league. How big of a buoy is he for the Rays? Not just the start of this season, but since he's been in the league.
He's definitely been a burst of energy. I mean, watching, this team since they made their run, 8-10 years ago when they were going to the World Series a couple times, still never won. But as they made their run throughout and they even got one more too when they had David Price and stuff like that too. They haven't had like a young talent that's come up that's really re-energized this team. And I feel like with him making his entrance into this team has definitely been the resurgence part of this team, because they haven't been horrible over the past few seasons, but they haven't been what the Rays that we've been used to over the last decade have been until what we've saw this season.
One of the biggest surprises for me at 8-5 has got to be the Pittsburgh Pirates. Who told them they could? I mean this jokingly, Pirates fans, and they're in the midst of a 4-game series against St. Louis. 8-5 going into tonight, and they don't have any quote unquote stars on their team, and I think that's one of the things that's fueled them to be where they are right now, playing against a team in St. Louis that's projected to win their division by a mile in the National League Central, and yet here are the Pirates 2 weeks out of the gate. They're 3 games above 500, and it seems like I can't say they're starting to get better, because they've started great, considering what the Pirates have been over the past few years. But they're great. They're out of the gate playing great. Can they keep this up?
No, because of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I can't even take a drink with that truthful response.
I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Pirates history over the last, we'll say 30 years, since Barry U.S. Bonds, which you called
Barry
recently.
U.S. Bonds. That wasn't me. That was Chris Berman. That was Chris Berman who came.
You still repeated it. You were the last one to say it.
Yeah.
Chris Berman said it, so it's still in my head of you saying Barry U.S. Bonds. Back to it. The past 30 years, Barry U.S. Bonds has departed from Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yes.
And we've seen in that 30 years, maybe, and I'm putting a big quotations on maybe 5 winning seasons in the past 30, if that.
Yeah. And the last
So
one was 2000. I think the last one they had was 13 when they got to the wild card.
So at this point in juncture in the season, it's April 14th. Now April 15th on syndication on WQEE at 2:00 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. You want to tell me at the midway point of April,
I'm not
Snowman, that
saying
in
a
this moment
word.
to get excited about an 8-5 record?
Considering it's the Pittsburgh Pirates, yes.
Snowman!
But I also know, but let me finish. But I also know it is April and not September.
Yes.
Just like the Cubs, completely useless by September.
Let's give it 4 months at that August 14th. Let's revisit
Give it to
this
the All-Star.
midway point of August.
Give it to the
And-
All-Star break.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say.
All-Star
Give it to
break,
the All-Star
4
break.
months from now, a midway point of the season. Let's revisit this and see, was Snowman drinking some special Kool-Aid on that 8-5 day? Yeah, what's in that big old thing?
You don't want to know what's in here. This is 52 ounces of ice water that I have in here.
Zero sugar,
Not that.
Snowman.
There you go. It's not that. It's this you got to worry about. This is nothing but green tea and lemon zinger that I've had. I haven't broken out the hard stuff yet.
I was bouncing off the walls with all that regular Coca-Cola and stuff, and then I started liking that strawberries and cream, like it tastes like a dessert, like Dr. Pepper. So I started drinking the zero sugar one. Zero sugar one tastes just like the regular one, and you don't feel like your teeth are going to fall out of your head when you drink it. So I'm going to stick with this unexplicited name drop.
That's what I do. I do zero sugar also. He said your teeth are not going to fall out of your head.
That's Mountain Dew. That's when you drink Mountain Dew. It's like you get that tingling feeling, and they feel like they're going to fall out.
I don't know how long it's been since I don't think I've had a Mountain Dew since college.
It's been years for me too.
I have a Mountain Dew. I have not had a Mountain Dew since college.
No, I've had like a Pitch Black. When the Pitch Blacks come out, I'll get that sometimes. That one's pretty good. But an actual,
what is that one? Pitch Black?
It's pretty good. It's like a grapish taste to it.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. But I drank so much Mountain Dew when I was a kid in my early 20s that, like, I think if I drank it now, I'd be sick. Like, just because of the amount of sugar that's in it.
Yeah. Same with me and Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
Coca-Cola I can still do, like when I do like Jack and Cokes and stuff. But like at the same time, nowadays I'm trying to stick away from sugar as much as possible because baseball's not here. Trying to trim some pounds for that. And as long as it's got a little caffeine to give me a little kick in the jolt, I'm good to go.
I'll tell you a funny story. I went to Indianapolis to cover a game and to visit a friend. And I had to drive back to Chicago that night. And I didn't leave until like 2 a.m. So my friend suggested, why don't you grab a Monster? And I was leery of energy drinks to begin with. I grabbed a Monster. I'm driving back and I nearly fell asleep.
A Monster?
On a Monster.
Wow.
I had to pull over and sleep for an hour. I don't know how that was the case, but that lone experience turned me off of energy drinks. I've tried Monster. I've tried, what's that? 5 Hour Energy.
Yep.
And 5 Hour Energy backfired. Because I had to do a game at Western Michigan. I had to do a game at Western Michigan, and I was already tired. Now I had to pick up my friend who was also the SID at Chicago State. It's a women's game we had to do. I picked him up, took off, and I was feeling tired. And he said, "Why don't you grab a 5 Hour Energy?" That backfired. It did. It backfired. We got to the arena at Western Michigan. I got through the game, had to wait on a technology expert to fix my laptop so I can actually broadcast the thing because the driver in the laptop to connect to the wireless was full of puke, and I don't mean that literally. I mean that figuratively. It just wouldn't connect. That got done. Flew through the game with no problem. Couldn't drive home to save my life. I went through 2 5-hour energies to get Corey home and then to get myself home, and I slept for 2 days.
Damn, your body doesn't react well to
My
that.
body does not do well with a sugar rush.
Mine, the one that got me was, I don't know if they still make it anymore, but Mountain Dew Amp. That was probably like 15 years ago when it got me.
Yeah.
Like, I was working overnight, and I was like at a job I was working nights, and I'd never done it before. So I started drinking Mountain Dew Amp. For like the first couple months, it was going pretty good. Like I was getting through the night just fine.
Until
I had a major crash one night and fell out on the floor, had to go home. Like I drank too much, and I just crashed. Like I was literally.
How much did you drink?
I think I had like 2 or 3 cans. Like I had like in that day, and I
they
was
the
doing
big-
that like every day for like
can?
months.
Were they the big cans or were they the
Yes.
12-ounce can? They were the big ones.
The big ones that had the little pop top, and then you could put it back down to like reclose it, so like it resealed it. Mountain Dew Amp was like one of the first ones that came out with it. I think they still do that with some of the other drinks now, but it was one of the first ones where it had like the little plastic clip up, and then it had like the little slot in there that you would drink through, and then like you would put it back down, so that way it wouldn't lose any of its freshness. You could still reclose it. I thought that part was cool. That's probably the biggest reselling of that part. But yes, I was drinking way too much, and I'm lucky I don't have any diabetes or anything from those moments, because I was taking way too much energy drinks. But yeah, it was from that moment forward that I kind of calmed down and just kind of switched to either coffee or maybe just having a regular can of soda every now and then, and not bucking 3 energy drinks in an 8-hour shift to be Superman and fly all over the place. Because at that point I was a lot skinnier and I can move. I mean, I can still move now if I get enough sleep at night, but back then I could really move. And I was, it was like methamphetamine in a can.
Sleep at night.
Yeah, never sleeping like a vampire. It was like methamphetamine in a can.
I've
never smoked.
I made a critical mistake. I'll leave y'all with this story. I drove to Cedar Falls, Iowa from Gary, Indiana. It's a 5-hour drive. And I had one of these full of Pepsi. And I thought, okay, I can get to the game, I can get through the game, and I can get home. How wrong I was, because I didn't even get halfway through that thing, and I'm pulling over at a rest stop getting more. I'm serious. I'm pulling over getting more. And I get to the McLeod Center, and I get in the McLeod Center. One of the students let me in. I explained to him who I was. I had my equipment with me, and all I saw was a comfortable chair. I sat in that chair, and the next thing I got there at 2:00. I got there at 2:00. It was a 7:00 tip. I sat in that chair, and the next thing I knew, it was 5:30.
You went to sleep, Snowman?
I fell out. Shirt.
You went to sleep at an event?
I wasn't on the floor. I wasn't on the basketball floor when that happened. I was in the back near the media room.
Okay.
I was in the back near the media room, and my good buddy Gary Reimer, a very dear friend of mine, found me. Because all he had to say to wake me up I was gone. All right. I kept saying to myself, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go home because I shouldn't be here doing this game. And then Gary Reimer walked in and said, I'm looking for the voice of Chicago State University. And I snapped into business mode. I don't know how that woke me up. And Gary and I have been friends since. 15 years we've been friends. We got to get out of here. Thank you, Sensei Drew. Thank you to those in the chat, including Victor Locke, including Chris Dietz of Fifth Down Sports. Everyone who joined us, we'll be back with y'all next Friday with more stuff. And when I say more stuff, I mean just that. We are out of here. We'll see y'all next week. God bless you, everybody.
Shout out to WQEE Georgia 99.1 for re-syndicating this show.